Today is lesson 4 of the beginner Russian course, and let's start with learning the cities and countries in Russian. Now let's read and try to translate it into English. Moskva, Moscow. Sankt Petersburg, Saint Petersburg. London, London. Toronto, Toronto. Washington, Washington. New York, New York. Shanghai, Shanghai. Tokyo, Tokyo. Cairo, Cairo. Россия, Russia. America, America. Canada, Canada. Uzbekistan, Uzbekistan. Mexico, Mexico. Великобритания, Great Britain. Italia, Italy. Япония, Japan. Египет, Egypt. Now let's learn how to say in some country. So when we want to say in, we use the v preposition, like we say in the office, в офисе, right? And actually, for most of the places, locations, cities also, and countries, you can add as well. You will add ye ending instead of, for example, Moskva is Moscow, and when you say in Moscow, в Москве. So you remove a in the end and add ye. Now let's read the next ones and see how it forms. В Вашингтоне, in Washington. В Лондоне, in London. В Tokyo, in Tokyo. Please pay attention that it does not change, so it stays Tokyo. Next, let's read in English and translate into Russian. In St. Petersburg, в Санкт-Петербурге. In Toronto, в Торонто. Here as well as in Tokyo, it does not change in Russian. It will be в Toronto. In Manila, Маниле. In Shanghai. Shanghai. Now, next one. If country ends with ya, it will have ending e, not ye, when the preposition v is used. For example, Китай. It's в Китай, so it's normal, right? Next one. Let's read together. В Америке. It's correct because it's America ends with a. Now, next one. В Египте, in the Egypt, but pay attention that in the normally Egypt is Египет. So we miss this ye here when we pronounce in Egypt. В Египте. It will not be в Египете. So it will be в Египте. Next one. В России, because Россия ends with ya, it will be e ending. В России, in Russia. Next one. Italy, in Italy, because Italia ends with ya, so it will be e ending with the preposition v. Next one. In Canada, of Canada, it will be ye, as we learned the first case. In Mexico, в Мексике, same, the first case. In Uzbekistan, в Uzbekistане, as well, same case. In Japan, в Японии, because Япония ends with ya, so it will be ending e. The last one. In the Great Britain, Великобритании и, because Великобритания ends with ya. So now we know that with places like cities or countries, we use v when we say where, and we usually add ending ye. That's the first case scenario. Mostly it's ye. Sometimes it does not change, like Tokyo, Toronto. And the third case is when the country ends with ya, you add ending e, not ye. So, for example, в России, в Италии, в Японии, в Великобритании. Okay, now let's continue. This is a new word. Жизнь. Жизнь is life. And it's just for the future reference, it's female. Жить is to live. You can use the trick which I told about before. You can associate this word with something that it sounds similar to, and that's how you will memorize it. I know it's difficult to pronounce, but it's one of the main verbs, to live. Now let's try to know the forms we use with the pronouns. Я живу. Ты живешь. Он живет. Она живет. The negative. Я не живу. That means I do not live. Ты не живешь. You do not live. Он не живет. He does not live. Она не живет. She does not live. So he and she is the same. Я живу is a question. Do I live? Ты живешь? Do you live? Он живет? Does he live? Она живет? Does she live? Now let's compare the endings we just learned with the verb we already know. Работать. Я живу, я работаю. Ты живешь, ты работаешь. Он живет, он работает. Она живет, она работает. We can see that they are quite similar. For example, the first case, the first person, у, you. You is basically is diphthong, it consists of I and U, right? So it's quite similar. Yosh, yesh. Yot, yet. The difference, it's really important to learn the difference. We will group them together later when we learn enough verbs for that. For now, let's just memorize it the way it is. So, another new word is где. It means where. Где. 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 Now let's try to read this and let's try to translate. I live in Japan. Я живу в Японии. Ты живешь в Америке? Do you live in America? Он живет в России. He lives in Russia. Она живет в Мексике. She lives in Mexico. I live in China, not in Russia. Я живу в Китае, не в России. You live and work in Japan. Ты живешь и работаешь в Японии. Ты живешь и работаешь в Японии. He doesn't live in London. Он не живет в Лондоне. Он не живет в Лондоне. Now let's continue. This will be visuals. Now let's read and translate. I am Ivan. Я Иван. Я работаю в Москве, в России. I work in Moscow, in Russia. Next one. Я Анна. I'm Anna. Я работаю в Токио, в Японии. I'm Anna. I work in Tokyo, in Japan. Я Андрей Петрович. Я работаю в Милане, в Италии. I am Andrei Petrovich. I work in Milan, in Italy. Now let's continue. Иван, где ты работаешь? Иван, where do you work? Я работаю в офисе в Москве, в России. I work in office in Moscow, in Russia. Анна, где ты работаешь? Анна, where do you work? Я работаю в фирме в Токио, в Японии. I work in a firm in Tokyo, in Japan. Now the next one. Где работает Иван? Where does Ivan work? Он работает в офисе в России. He works in an office in Russia. Let's pay attention that Россия, it ends with ya. That's why it's e ending, not a yeah. Okay, next one. Где работает Анна? Where does Anna work? Она работает в фирме в Японии. She works in a firm in Japan. The next one. Где работает Андрей Петрович? Where does Андрей Петрович work? Он работает в университете в Италии. He works in the university in Italy. Now let's do the exercises. Now let's read and translate into Russian and then to English. Кто ты? Я профессор. Who are you? I'm a professor. Где он работает? Он не работает. Remember that. Где is where. Where does he work? He does not work. Где она живет? Она живет в России. Where does she live? She lives in Russia. Who is Ivan? He's a student. Кто Иван? Он студент. Where do you live? I live in Tokyo, in Japan. Где ты работаешь? О, sorry. Где ты живешь? Я живу в Токио, в Японии. Где ты живешь? Я живу в Токио, в Японии. Где она работает? Она работает в фирме в Узбекистане. Где она работает? Она работает в фирме в Узбекистане. Где он живет? Он живет в Вашингтоне, в Америке. Где он живет? Он живет в Вашингтоне, в Америке. And now let's do the homework. Of course, we need to memorize the new words, the verb, how to conjugate it, and look up for the city and country you live in Russian, and write in Russian about yourself. We have this already. I am your name. I am your occupation. I work in the place and I live in the city and the country. In Russian, of course. And you can leave it in the comments and I will check and let you know if it's correct. Thank you for your attention.